the National Archives and Records Administration, or NARA, radical left group. You know NARA has the Constitution flagged, red flag, you know that? And they have not only the Constitution red flag, they have the Bill of Rights because they say that they're dangerous documents. This is what we're dealing with. But they don't have the authority to designate. Think of that. NARA does not have the authority to designate materials as presidential records. They're the ones coming after me. NARA does not have the tapes in question, and NARA lacks any right, duty, or means to seize control of them. This is the decision of the judge. The president enjoys unconstrained authority. This is, again, the decision of a respected judge to make decisions regarding the disposition of documents. Neither the archivist nor Congress has the authority to veto the president's decision. In other words, the president alone, not the vice president, not allowed, not other offices, and not the senators. When he was a senator, he took a lot of classified information, and you're not allowed to do that. The Presidential Records Act does not confer any at all mandatory or even discretionary authority on the archivist to classify records. Under the statute, just to finish up, this responsibility is left solely to the President of the United States, not all these other people that say, oh, he kept some documents. What I do legally. In other words, whatever documents a president decides to take with him, he has the absolute right to do so. That's the law. And it couldn't be more clear. I don't think it could be more clear than that. Even the New York Times, of all papers, in a major article said that when it comes to asking for documents, I guarantee you this reporter got fired, from the former presidents, the only power that NARA has is to say, pretty please, this is the Times, pretty please, could we have them? Quote, asking nicely is about all they can do. And yet, they reported me to the Department of Justice for criminal prosecution. So there it is. Nothing like this has ever happened. The Espionage Act has never been used before. These are sick people. These are degenerates that are running our country, and our country's going to hell. And I just might add briefly, you know, right next door, because these are all Democrats and they're all in total contact. They're in total contact with the Justice Department. That includes Manhattan. That includes Atlanta, Georgia, one of the most unsafe per capita places anywhere in this country. It's number one or number two. Worse than Chicago. You don't know that. People are leaving Atlanta, and we loved Atlanta. We loved Georgia. We did great in Georgia. Unfortunately, bad things happen. We can't let any of that stuff happen again, and we're not going to let it. But right next door in Georgia, the racist district attorney goes after me for a perfect phone call, even more perfect than the call I made to Ukraine, even more perfect. She's got the worst per capita crime record in the country. Murderers, think of this, murderers are allowed to get away with murder. They're allowed to get away with murder. They don't even go after him. The only one they go after is Trump. Let's see, didn't he have a phone call? And when you think about that call, many lawyers were in that call. That was a call made when I was president, and I was protesting the election results in Georgia. And they had many. They had Secretary of State on, Raffensperger. And they had many lawyers on the call, some ours, but many of them theirs. Not one person protested that call. There was no problem with that call. They didn't say, sir, I'm sorry, please rephrase. It was only a long time afterwards. They said, let's see, Trump made a phone call, didn't he? Well, we actually made another one that was so perfect that they refused to even show it or report it, but we have a copy of it. It was a perfect call. These were perfect calls. These were calls where you're questioning the validity and the safety of elections. And it's a disgrace that they're allowed to even think about it. But not one person protested until long after that call. And if there was something wrong with that call, I am not a stupid person. Number one, I'm an honest person, so I wouldn't do it anyway. But when people are on the phone, including many lawyers, do you think many people were on that phone? Many, many people. Do you think I'm going to say what they'd like to have? But the problem is It's not borne out. I will tell you what is borne out. The call was supposedly taped in the state of Florida. And in Florida, you're not allowed to do, that's a two-party state. In other words, you're not allowed to tape phone calls. They taped the phone call. To show you how nice they are, they taped the phone call, and you're not allowed. So that is the real crime here. They had a two-party state with somebody taping the call, supposedly from Florida. The Bidens took in millions and millions of dollars from Ukraine, from Russia, and from China. And now Joe has given China the green light as they open up, not even believable, military installations in Cuba, just 90 miles off our coast. Think of that. And that will end as soon as I'm president. China will be leaving. They will be leaving. They will be leaving. And we had a very good relationship. You didn't hear about Taiwan, and you didn't hear about Ukraine from Putin during my 4 years. They say, how do you know? Because that would have never happened. They say, how do you know? They say, because number one, it never happened. It was never even discussed. They knew better. Joe Biden's policy is China first. My policy is very simple, America first. And by the way, is everybody warm enough? Are you sure? But this is South Carolina. We're used to nice, beautiful, warm weather. How about Joe when he's in Florida and he goes, it's really nice to be in New Hampshire. They got palm trees up. Or when he was in Ohio. No, how about Iowa? Well, actually, the best happened to be when he said last couple of days what he was saying about Ukraine and Iraq. But when he's in a certain state, many times he's gotten it wrong. It's wonderful to be in Iowa, sir. It's Idaho. Oh, Idaho. They grow potatoes in Idaho, right? No, we got a man who's grossly incompetent, and he could get us into World War III. And this will not be a war like army tanks going back and forth, shooting at each other. These are weapons so powerful, it's obliteration. He shouldn't be there. He shouldn't be there. Shouldn't be there for a lot of reasons, but he shouldn't be there just based on his competence. And tell him to take the cognitive test. That would be an interesting. Set a record for an all-time. I took it. They said Trump is vicious and he's brilliant and he wants to take over the world, and that wasn't working. Then they said Trump is this, Trump is that. Then they said, well, Trump's, let's see. Oh, he must be stupid. Oh, he's stupid. So when I heard that, I said, let me take the cognitive test, and I did. Given and administered by a whole lot of doctors. And Dr. Ronnie Jackson of Texas, who is now a congressman, was an admiral, great. And as he said to everybody, Trump aced it. I aced it. I got him all right. And I never heard the stupid stuff anymore. So that one disappeared. So I think Biden should take it. That way he can get rid of that. They can get rid of that little statement about him being not so smart. Despite the Biden's flagrant corruption, the weaponized Department of Justice interfered to block the investigation against Joe and Hunter, stopped felony charges, and even secretly tipped off Hunter. This just came out recently about a search of his storage units, just a little different than what they did with the gun-toting FBI agents when they raided Mar-a-Lago. Well, Joe Biden used the DOJ to cover up his own crimes. He ordered his top political opponent, me, arrested. They arrested me right in the middle of our presidential election, which Joe Biden is losing by a lot.